listen to football, or as they say in Brazil, futebol.
Alrighty.
Or as they say in Finland, ABBA.
And welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of Traveller Chats. I am here with a special co-host, Jay, of the Inter Miami podcast. How you doing tonight, Jay?
Well, I'm not that special, but I'm here.
Well, you technically are Trav Chats' daddy, so I kind of do that special intro, or else I may not see my check in the mail this week.
Well, as long as I can write off a third child in the taxes, we'll be all right.
That would help a lot. But this is Trav Chat since I think just after the Nashville game. I think it kind of went under the radar last week that I forgot to host an episode.
Yeah.
Now, since then, we've played Cincinnati and the U.S. Open Cup semifinals, Red Bull New York in our first MLS game in the Messi era, and Nashville. And
has it been that long?
It has. It helps that we've played 3 games since that Leagues Cup final.
Yeah,
which crazy this schedule is, but
nuts. I'd say I've got something on that as well. We'll get into that though in a bit.
Yes, well. Miami continues their unbeaten streak. However, that comes on the heels of 2 more technically draws, even though we won in penalties against Cincy. At the end of regulation and overtime, if a match is still tied, it's considered a draw until there's a winner on PK. And then a draw against Nashville at home, which was a 0-0, kind of a snooze fest. One of those matches where people say, this is why I do not watch this great sport of football.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't know, where do you want to start? Because I've got so many things to say on 2 of the 3 games. Where would you like to start, sir?
I say we'll start on Red Bull New York. Everybody knows what happened in Cincy. Ben Kromoski, whose kit is actually framed and signed right above me as we speak, won that match in PKs for Miami. So we'll get over to the Red Bull New York game in Newark, New Jersey.
Oh, man. So I got to be fully honest. I think I said this on the podcast as well. I had to – it's been a hectic month, right? It's like 9 games in the month of August. It was intense. I actually opted to not watch this one because we had a date night and got to make sure the wifey stays happy so that we can get married in February. So I did catch the highlights. I think probably my favorite part about this entire game, and this comes from the dark side of Jay, is that Messi didn't start and people played obnoxiously high ticket prices and were probably very upset with their decisions for that first half and just hoping he would come on, and they started chanting, "We want Messi, we want Messi." And they brought him on, which, is great because I feel like there's obviously not an agreement or a contractual agreement by any means that Messi must play in every game. But when you carry that weight and that magnitude, it's weird. It's a weird line you have to ride because you don't want to you don't want to risk your players of, overusing them or running them into the ground or injuring them. But at the same time, like everyone in the United States wants to go to their local club to see Messi. That was kind of funny because that was the first time we had really seen something like that occur. And then again, I just watched the house because we were at a great restaurant. But man, oh man, is Jordi Alba not getting enough credit for that overhead? Not even a half assist, maybe a quarter assist to Messi.
Yeah, I mean, the ball from Busquets was overhit when you relook at it, and Jordi Alba still managed to get up, get a foot on it, and, let it basically fall perfectly to Lionel Messi, who, did the rest. And, we can talk about that goal forever, analyze that goal forever. Just an absolutely inch-perfect ball by Lionel Messi to Ben Kromoski, who also, in his credit, played a great ball back across the front goal.
Mm-hmm.
To Lionel Messi for him to score what was probably one of the easiest goals of his career.
Yeah, he could have walked that thing in. I mean, easily could have just walked that thing in. He didn't even really kick it. He just set his foot down in front of it and just let it basically roll in. But that that assist. I mean, no, I guess not assist because I mean Ben will have the assist, but
Well,
that ball
well,
through the back
this
line that no one
you
was
have
seeing was just
MLS
beautiful.
counts, you have to remember MLS counts secondary assists. You know, the good old hockey assist.
Okay, so secondary assist and then the goal, like that was insane. And not to jump ahead here by any means, but that ball he played in the Nashville game that made down the line was absolute. I mean, like we are seeing Messi do things that we all knew Messi could do. Everyone is there more for like his scoring and not to take away from like the amazing passes that he can make or the assists he can make are just utterly insane. It's I don't think anyone else in the league would even attempt to try half the things that Messi tries, and Messi does them and then flawlessly executes them and makes this game look like it's as easy as playing hopscotch on the side of the street.
Yeah, and it's not even the idea that, you know, nobody can think to try what Messi tries. It's I don't think there's anybody in the league that can play just some of these absolutely ridiculous balls that Messi manages to play.
It's something out of this world, man. It really is. And I mean, it's the same thing with Busquets as well, right? Like we mentioned the Busquets. I mean, even to kind of see that play develop early, hit Jordy, and just that sequence, just everything happened so fast. Everything was on point, spot on to like almost inch perfect type of status. Like, yeah, maybe the ball to Jordy was a little overhit, or maybe it's like, hey, I played with you for nearly a decade, and I know you'll get this ball. And I'm running out of adjectives to describe this entire experience. It seems like every week there's just another layer that's peeled back. There's just another aspect, and you kind of get tired of being surprised. And like it's just we're so lucky. We're so lucky to be able to witness this in real time.
Yeah, and you know, moving forward into that Nashville game, you know, Messi still, despite a match in where Nashville put every single player on the field behind the ball as often as they could, Messi still managed to play a couple of ridiculous balls, including, you know, that one down the sideline to Jordi Alba,
Mm-hmm.
where, you know, Jordi was able to basically walk it into the area before, you know, in my opinion, making a poor decision to try and play a pass instead of shooting it a tad earlier and testing Panico. But even in a match like that, where anytime Messi touched the ball, he knew that anything would have taken breaking through 10 players. He still produced these just absolutely amazing moments where you just say to yourself, wow, this cannot be real.
Yeah, that ball in particular, not many people could split those two defenders and lead Jordy right to his feet. And then you add on the fact that he completely nutmegged the man who was on him and did all. It's just I don't know what to say. It's like you're not surprised anymore. You're still in awe, but it's just hey, it's just another day in the life of Messi. It's absolutely wild. And in a game specifically towards this Nashville game where we dominated possession. I mean, it was 69% possession we had. We had more than double their passes. But my one really criticism of this game, and I was talking to the stands about this, is, and like I literally said, like, this is literally reminds me of Chelsea. It's like there's a lot of possession, a lot of prodding, but I don't think we had enough risk taking up top. I don't think Josef was making enough runs. Campana comes in late, and he's more known for the make the run, body the defender, and try and get something out of it. But it's crazy. What really stood out to me in this game is in terms of completed passes, it was really all along the defensive line. I mean, Sergio Busquets led the team with 93 completed passes. Then it's Kamal Miller at 90, Jordi Alba at 77, Tomas Avias at 71. The next highest player is Leo Messi with 52. And possession's great. And I think maybe some of the League's Cup final played into the strategy here. but I was really hoping to see some more risk-taking, chance creation with maybe some balls over top or some through balls that might cut you up. I mean, we knew this was going to be a hard-fought game, just like the final was, but I feel like we were a little too conservative for my liking, if that makes sense.
I mean, I agree to an extent. I think, uh, Nashville did a lot in the little things between the Leagues Cup final and this match. Now, in the Leagues Cup final, Nashville said, all right, we're going to try and beat them by playing higher, pressing, and forcing Miami to play quicker and play wide. That obviously didn't work because, all it took was Lionel Messi 1 second in free space to curl an absolute golazo into the back of the net. While in this match, Nashville said, and remember, Nashville played this match without two of three of their DPs.
Mm-hmm.
Both Walker Zimmerman and Sam Surge were out for this match, and Hani Mukhtar didn't enter until the 45th minute. And they just said, we're going to sit back. We're going to have, at nearly every single moment, 9 out of 10 outfield players behind the ball. We're going to force you to try and break us down, and we're going to just kill you with numbers. And if we get a counterattack, great. If not, you can't lose if you don't allow a goal. And that frustrated Miami because Nashville did this. Another key piece of when you're playing, park the bus ball like that is just beat the shit out of the other team. When they do have the ball, just do whatever you can to annoy the crap out of them and beat the shit out of them. And that's what Nashville did. Messi got annoyed at one point and, got into it with Jack Mayer. Sergio Busquets was annoyed. Jordi Alba was annoyed. Everybody on Miami was annoyed at one point or another because Nashville was totally content with giving up the ball, saying, come attack us, and then beating the shit out of us whenever we did attack them.
Yeah, and I mean, all props to Gary Smith. He came up with the blueprint. The first head coach that we've come against, everyone had what they thought would be a plan to deal with Leo Messi and the rest of the squad, but no one was effective besides Nashville. And so they saw that success in the Leagues Cup game, and I'm sure that Gary honed some of his ideas and principles that he wanted the team to act on. And it's always going to be a hot topic of debate, right? Who is the best defensive team in the league? And Nashville is always in that debate, and arguably the top defensive team in the league. In my opinion, I think they are. And when they're without, United States men's national team stud Walker Zimmerman, they still hold it together. And it just goes to show you how disciplined this team is, not only in holding their formations throughout the game, holding the line, but really adjusting their press is spectacular. They can go for kind of the pseudo low block. It's really not an all-out low block, but they can go for that. Then they can move those lines up. They can high press as well and kind of alternate that throughout the game just to keep Miami on their toes. And they are a team that has figured out a way to play against us, right? Lock it down defensively. Going back to the Leagues Cup final, that goal Messi scored, if he shot it probably a tenth of a second earlier or a tenth of a second late, it's not going in. They found a way to have two individuals always on top of Messi, always pressing, no one to drop back, get back to the line. And it's just this really beautiful, fluid style of defense. And then they have the reigning league MVP in Hani Mukhtar, who they often play this like 4-4-1-1, right? He's kind of that cam, like freedom to roam role where he can shoot down the field, and we've seen what he can do. I mean, he has shredded teams, right? And he has even turned Kamal Miller around or got him past Kristoff. And they're really comfortable just sitting back playing a defensive game, waiting for the counterattack. And their counterattacks are so effective to the point where they honestly probably should have won this game if it wasn't for Kamal Miller just coming out and having the best play he's ever had in this team, which was just a coming around, wrapping around, and somehow getting a foot to the ball. to stop Hani in the box one-on-one with Drake. That was purely spectacular, to say the least, and very deserving of the man of the match award to Kamal Miller.
Well, and arguably Kamal Miller's best match in the Rosa Negra. And, Kamal Miller showed why Miami paid what some consider a steep price of Bryce Duke and Ariel Lassiter for him. He's a former all-star MLS defender. He has European aspirations and, very likely should be there sooner than later. And,
a very capable penalty kick taker as well. Like, he does it for the national team, and we've seen him do it many times for Inter Miami. And if you can get a defender that can rock some pins, that's a valuable asset.
That, and he's good with the ball on it. I mean, we saw at one point in this Nashville match where he made a tackle at midfield and then carried the ball, 40, 50 yards down the field into the area before passing it off to, I think, Robert Taylor. It just shows that Kamal Miller is Miami's arguably best defender, and in this match, he just showed it as best as he could.
Yeah, I saw a stat a couple weeks ago that Kamal Miller had the most touches in the attacking half of any defensive player in the MLS. And like, he is comfortable getting forward. We've seen him slow down and then accelerate around players, get down to the box. We've seen him take it down to the box and have a go too. Like, the man is, I respect him. He does have some moments where there might be some, defensive lapses, but hell, we've been dealing with that for 3.5 years, so that's just kind of status quo. But then you see these moments of pure excellence, like we did, where he slid in, got the ball away from Hani, so he couldn't get the shot off, and that right there is arguably the value of the trade, right? I mean, that trade, yeah, sure, Bryce Duke and Ari Lassiter were quote unquote a high price, but when you're getting Kamal Miller and the 1.3 million in GAM, like, that's a no-brainer steal of a deal. Question is, will we be able to work it out where he's here next year? Because I feel like this is a kind of similar situation to Pozuelo, to Josef Martinez, where we're getting players on a really good deal, but they're also in, the last year of their contract. So how do we fit all this in to make it work? Keep in mind, we will have an additional 1.2 million in GAM coming back from the sanctions, so that will come into play. And I'm really curious about Josef, because I feel like Josef might take a little less money to stay with Messi. You can kind of see he wants to be Messi's best friend out there, even to a fault, where there are situations where Josef throughout his entire career would take a shot or be greedy, and we want him to take a shot or be greedy, but he opts to, lay off to Messi, turn around, find Messi. But this is going to be something to watch through the offseason on who can we work out and who do we just say, hey, this doesn't make sense, and mutually part ways.
Well, and I think there's, more than a few players that Miami's going to look at possibly move this upcoming offseason, to make space to bring back a guy like Josef Martinez, bring back a guy like Kamal Miller. And on top of that, Miami's going to have to turn around and also pay some money to some of the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any way that, somebody like Ben Hakramovsky, who, although he's in the first year of his deal, I don't see how he doesn't get a raise this offseason.
If Breck Shea can get a raise, Ben Hakramovsky can get a raise.
Oh, I think that, Robert Taylor may be in that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And, does Miami bring back a guy like Dixon Arroyo, who has played well in that emergency backup role to Gregor? Or does Miami possibly look at saying, all right, we're going to keep Dixon Arroyo over somebody like a Jean Mota or Gregor? Because once Miami's fully healthy, this roster gets deep really quickly, and there's not enough spots for everybody. Not enough space for everybody to get adequate play time. So Miami's going to have to make some tough decisions in the offseason.
Is it appropriate to just say, thank you, Victor Oyoya? Like, can we agree on that one?
I'm fine with that. I like Victor. I think he's a good guy. I think if you do that, he's going to retire and we're going to keep paying him and he's going to stay with the club. He loves it in South Florida. He's basically Jorge Mas's, illegitimate child. And I think he'd be a perfect, Inter Miami 2 or academy coach or just mentor.
He could be the brand ambassador, I guess. Whatever.
Oh,
I feel like everyone loves him, but we all know what the grand picture, here is. But to your point, the real question is what's going to happen with Gregory, right? Because Dixon Arroyo has held it down. He had a goal, albeit we lost that game. But I think the question's going to weigh when you have Gregory, who is essentially a DP we paid down. Is his production worth the price tag on his head if Dixon Arroyo is much cheaper and can give us maybe not even the same production, but 80% of that production? We have Busquets, we have Jordan, we have Messi, we have this new found love of possession and control of games. So there's going to be a lot of, I think, thoughts going into cap space and not necessarily impact, but do we need them? Are they crucial, or do we have someone behind them or someone maybe younger, even cheaper, we could bring in to give a shot? And I think there's going to be a lot of decisions made in this offseason, difficult decisions between Chris Henderson, Tata Martino, and in the front office.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And, I think that for the first time in a while, these are good decisions. Miami not making these decisions out of necessity to be roster and budget compliant, like they did before the beginning of the 2021 season and before the beginning of the 2022 season, and to a lesser extent before the beginning of this season, in hopes that they would sign Lionel Messi and Sergio Busquets at a minimum. So it'll be nice to finally have that knowledge and flexibility. My flexibility will only increase going forward. But I was saying that if you had to choose out of 3 midfielders for Miami and you could only keep one, which one are you keeping? Dixon Arroyo, Gregor, or Jean Mota?
Those are the three. I thought you were going to throw Benha in there, and that was going to be an easy question. So, of those three, so Dixon, Mota, and Gregory, and I can keep how many?
You can keep
one. I'm sorry, you cut out there. I can keep one?
Yeah, you can only keep one.
I'm probably, man, I mean, he did look like crap, but I don't know. That's so tough. I would probably lean towards Jean Mota, considering the cap hit we would get on Gregory and the attacking ability of Jean Mota. I think he is better from distance than all the three. I think he was more willing to take on a shot because there are many times in this Nashville game we're just passing along that back perimeter and I'm like, just give it to someone, just have a go, right? Test Panico. So if it was me, also being partial to Brazilians, nothing against Dixon, I'd probably go with Jean Mota.
Interesting. I would go with the other Brazilian, Gregor. I think that despite his cap hit and the fact that Miami has to spend, GAM to buy him down, or according to The Athletic, buy Leo Campana down, I think that Miami needs this bulldog in the midfield. I think that now with Sergio Busquets, that midfield gets a little bit slower, and we've been putting another midfielder who plays a lot more attacking, Benta Kremovsky or Diego Gomez. And when either of them have stepped on the pitch, they played extremely attacking. I mean, Diego Gomez at times was basically playing as a winger. So, you know, I would keep Gregory. I think that you need just that bulldog in the midfield to win appropriate, fuck shit up.
I don't disagree with you either. Like that's the thing. It's just Busquets. Like there was a moment in this national game where he could have just had to go. He could have taken a shot, and I feel like he is very hesitant and wants to be much more the maestro, the controller, pulling the strings behind the scenes. I feel like Gregory is the same way. And for me, if I'm going to have two CDMs out there, I want one of them to at least have some sort of attacking mindset about them.
Yeah, but Miami's, it seems like under Tata Martino, we're always going to play with three midfielders. Oh, and you can afford to have two of them be more defensively minded when the third one is so offensively minded.
Fair.
Ben Hakramoski and Diego Gomez, either one of them that you put in the midfield, or even somebody like Robert Taylor who dropped into the midfield against Nashville, you need somebody to then cover for them so that when Miami then pushes their outside backs, Yedlin and Jordi Alba up high as they do, you have somebody to sit back and cover for them.
Two might be better than one.
Don Capacito, you have something to say, my man?
What's up, guys? Good evening. Since we're
Capacito, you're muted. I think Jay took out his anger on everybody there.
I didn't mean to. So
can you hear me?
Clicking that whatever was at the bottom. My bad.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? So since we're on topic about something that I've been thinking about for the last 2-3 months, what the question of Gregory and Mota, for example, obviously it would be amazing if the both of them were healthy, playing the squad. It would be a big help with the rotations and all. I mean, it's exciting. I'm excited to see both of them come back, but see, that's the thing. So next season, what are the odds of the both of them staying along with the new additions that we just got this summer?
I think at least one of them's going. I think at least one of them has to go, just because of the fact that Miami's going to need roster spots. They're going to need spots for Diego Gomez, Ben Hakramoski, David Ruiz, and more to play and to have the ability to get on the field. And rather bring on an 18-year-old homegrown who you're going to grow and sell on the future than a 27, 28-year-old who is technically in their prime, but isn't possibly going to net you a large transfer fee in a couple.
Right. So I think that, okay, so if we're going to go by that, if it's just one player, I think that more than likely is going to be Gregory, him being the most expensive one. So I think that's probably going to be the scenario for next season.
I mean, that frees up $1.7 million cash right there, and that's what I'm saying. Like if Dixon can perform his duties to 80% and is, a quarter of his salary, that makes sense from a business standpoint. And even Mota as well. Like we'll see what happens. If Gregory leaves, we have to restructure everything to keep the three U22s. But if from a purely business standpoint, I think Gregory has the most weight around him just because of the salary requirements. And if you free up that extra 1.1 million, and go, salary cap level for a player, that extra million could get you another young up and coming stud out of South America that could be here, 4 years, and we'll have to restructure it 2-3 years down the road. But that'll be the stuff that it's going to be, I think, a lot of Chris Henderson and Tata Martino just talking about who Tata wants, who Hendo wants, who Hendo thinks he can get. And then 25% of that is probably also going to be affected by ownership, Beckham, Moss, the Moss brothers. But that's going to be the interesting thing to see is the $1.7 million price tag on Gregory's head. Is that worth it considering what Dixon's been able to do for a much smaller salary?
And on top of that, we have Gomez as well, who plays the same position.
Well, and a big thing to remember too is
That's
both
slightly different now.
and Jean Mota had offers this past offseason to change clubs. Mota had offers from Santos in Brazil, and Gregory had offers from Bahia, who Miami initially bought him from, to come and join them as well. So, Miami's not going to be out of options of places to send these guys if they need to find them a new home. But it's going to be interesting to see who Miami chooses to move on.
But their
And
price drops, right? Because they've both been injured. They've been out for most of the season with injuries, so that's going
Right.
to
I
drop the
think,
price.
yeah,
And to like the
absolutely.
Diego Gomez point is, well, Diego Gomez, Facundo Farias, and Tota Aviles are of less concern because they fall under that U22 initiative, right? Outside of the U22 initiative and the DPs, then it becomes much more of roster rules, budget, caps, salary, and stuff like that. So that's where a lot of the wheeling and dealing comes in behind the scenes.
Well, I hope one of them stays, because I mean, it would definitely help if we're going to be able to compete in 3 or 4 competitions next season. I mean, we're going to need all the bodies that we can get in the middle.
I mean, maybe Gregory's like, hey, I'll take a max salary deal. I'd like to stay here and play with Messi, right? Like Gregory is on on the older side of the business anyway, so there is that Messi effect that comes into play where people would probably take lower salaries just to stay and play with Messi. I mean, that's something you get to tell your kids about, 20,
Yeah,
30 years down the line.
Yeah, but Jay, what's his contract like? I mean, isn't next year the last year of his contract
For who?
for Gregory?
I am not sure on the contract. I would have to
Right.
to look into to see when that is.
I
But
think he's got one more year.
But
And
if
so,
so the setup works right now in terms of Gregory being bought down had to happen to have the U22, all 3 U22s here.
right.
So everything works out here. But if they get rid of him, then they're going to have to figure out another way to restructure their team to allow those 3 U22s without absorbing those cap hits, because that's $15 million of influx that you don't want to deal with, right? You want to keep them as U22s. I think you get that deal until they're 25 years of age, honestly. That's going to be the tricky part is who else? You can't buy down Messi. We know that's not humanly possible. There's not enough Gam or Tam in the entire league to do that, right? So then we have to figure out how we're going to do it outside of that. But, if we get to the contract renewal spot with him, he might go from 1.7 to maybe 1.2, and then we just buy him down with, 5, 6K, 100 of Gam or Tam and make it work. This is an absolute jigsaw puzzle, and we're lucky we have probably the best puzzle solver in the world, Chris Henderson, to
got to build
head
that
up
man
this
a statue.
problem.
Got to build
Yeah,
him a
right.
statue.
That can handle all that. But yeah, I mean, this is some that was planned over realistically 2 years, right? The Messi rumors they always wanted Messi to come here, so we'll go ahead and say those maybe 3 years. We've seen that repetition, that media cycle go on probably 12 times over. But once they really felt confident, and when I was on the call with Jorge Mas, he said there was at a time a while ago that they knew that they were extremely confident this deal was going to happen, right? And so this team chose to suffer. They chose to leave their 10 open. They chose to leave their 5 open. They chose to not go out in the offseason, sign players from Europe or big up and coming names from South America. They chose this path. They 100% gambled on this vision. It paid out, and they were so prepared that they knew the roster moves they would have to make for this to be a reality. And for things to change, particularly with Gregory, it requires breaking apart that puzzle and putting it back together. So I don't have the answer. I don't even know what it looks like behind the scenes, but it's going to be complicated for sure.
Well, I hope whoever stays, I hope that they get the opportunity to play with Messi and Busquets in the middle, because those guys suffer too, man. The 2 Brazilians.
They did.
Those guys suffered, and it would be nice to see them have that opportunity. I'm sure they would like that.
I agree with you 100%. And, I think Gregory's probably a couple of weeks away from being back. Mota has been sick. That's why he's out. It was not, a re-aggravation or anything of the injury. So they will get their
Good to hear.
time to experience, with Messi. But, at the end of the day, it's a business, and it comes down to the financials. And the raw, true story of it is we've been balling out without him. And so that's like, how do you convince Chris that specifically Gregory is worth the hit if we've been able to suffice without him?
Well, look. So yes, we've been doing well, okay, but also, I mean, I'm starting to see a lot of fatigue starting to creep in, and we need guys like Mota and Gregory in there for the rotations if we're going to be able to compete. So it's I know it's like you said, it's a big jigsaw puzzle, and these guys got to figure it out. But we need more people, more players out there, guys like Gregory and Mota, if we're going to be able to compete properly. Because then we're just going to be talking about the same problem that we're doing right now. Like, always, who's resting and what minute is Messi going to come in, and all these other problems. And then that's not even factoring in potential injuries, yellow card accumulations and all that. So we need quality players down there in the middle.
And we're going to have an additional tournament to play in next year.
Right. I mean, it'd be
actually
nice to win a quadruple. Imagine winning a quadruple. I mean,
the quintuplet is on the line as well, because we not only have the CONCACAF Champions Cup, but we have the
exactly.
I forgot what they branded, but like Inter-America competition between the CONCACAF Champions Cup, the Leagues Cup, the Sudamericana, and the Libertadores. So we also have that Copa Interamericana Cup as well, which will be much smaller. It's just 4 teams, right? So it's just a little quick tournament, 4 teams, 2 teams champion.
But still,
we're going to be overloaded next year with 50 plus games, and it's going to be tough, man. But if you can get 2 up and coming South American talents for what you're paying for Gregory now, like, I get that, and I see that as well. And I feel like I've been very like sell Gregory here, but like I and Don, you know me well. Like I love my Brazilians. I want as many Brazilians as we could take, right? I get Messi's Argentinian, and there are all these young Argentinians coming into the team. I wish we had a team of freaking 11. Actually, check that, of 10 Brazilians and then Drake Callender.
You want all that flair.
Yeah, I want all the footwork,
Yeah. Well, I would think that why not search in other countries, because right now they're searching heavily in Argentina, it seems. And you can get good deals like Dixon, for example, from Ecuador. You can find players just like him at much cheaper prices. It's just that they don't happen to be Argentinian, and so that has an impact in their price. They should look in Colombia, dare I say Uruguay, places like that. So to me, that makes more sense.
Or dare I say, we look inward to our own academy.
Well, who else?
Which is starting to bleed over. I know they have, Inter Miami too has done great this year, but the academy is still on a national level doing quite well. So there will be other players coming in, young, full of legs, for very, very cheap salaries, getting their first pro deal.
I had a quick question for you guys.
Go ahead.
You guys keep saying that Gregory's going to cost like 1.7 mil next year. Is that accurate? Because I have no idea what his contract is, but I thought it was like 700,000, 750. I didn't realize that he had gone over the million.
Yeah. So basically his contract in terms of salary pays him a little bit over $1 million, and then his cap hit is a little bit over, I think, 1.7 something before, counting as a DP and having to be brought down. And that just comes from taking his transfer fee and putting it across his entire contract.
Oh, got it. The transfer fee. Okay, thank you. That I didn't realize. Okay.
Yeah, a 1.7 was my best guess. I like, they only release like that the salary details like once a year, and I just couldn't remember. But substantial enough to where he was the one to pay down.
But Jay, you mentioned the academy and these young players, and recently there's been a lot of debate surrounding two young players on Inter Miami, and that is Diego Gomez and Benja Cremaschi. Now, both of these players were called up to their respective national teams for the upcoming international window, but at home here in Miami, we've seen different performances from both. Benja has looked the better player in most matches, but Diego Gomez looked very lively and scored his first goal for the club against Red Bull New York. So if it comes down to it, who are you starting in a must-win match right now, Diego Gomez or Benja Cremaschi?
Oh, I just want to say that I absolutely love you because I was just looking it up. So Gregory, yeah, he's about 800,000 plus hit, but the transfer fee was 4,000, so 4 million rather. So broken up over that. That's why I love you, Trav, because you know the finite details. Oh goodness! So this is so difficult to answer because Benja has shown so much potential. He's already getting the call up to the national team, but then we have the influx of all the U22s again, and like this is wild. I mean, and this, I feel like people are taking these three in terms of Diego Gomez, Facundo Farias, and Toto Avilas lightly. This is $15 million worth of players. To put that into perspective, when Inter Miami signed their first two players, Mati Pellegrini and Julian Carranza was valued at about $7 million. We didn't give him his fair share. His first year, he goes over to Philadelphia and is now one of the best center forwards in the league. Now we have three guys totaling that amount, and it's a tough position for the ones who love Inter Miami 2 and the academy and the ones coming up, because you have to give these guys their fair shot. We cannot have another Julian Carranza situation where he's on our bench not playing, sitting behind Gonzalo, and then we trade him and now he's scoring goals and creating assists left and right. So I would say I would lean more to the side of copying out that we're going to need depth and that we're going to need all of them. But to be fair, Diego Gomez has had some games where he's looked great and has some games where he hasn't looked great. I've not been upset with Benja at all. The effort he gives, the shiftiness, the ability to drop shoulders, control balls, and really become like Messi's oldest son is just phenomenal. I mean, this is a guy who grew up idolizing Messi, had Messi on a poster of his room, and we see him come off the bench and ignite the offense, and he has this innate chemistry called an Argentina bloodline, or I don't know what it is, but they just seem to be on the same page. I think Benja has the job for now, but I think it's going to be really tough for Benja to keep the job because Diego Gomez is going to, I think, start to reach his potential levels. We have seen very little of Farias. Toto has slotted in quite well, I think, as in addition to all of that. So this is going to be, I think, a situation where we see the rotation to the same level that we see with Josip and Campana, where I think both are capable. I think both provide different aspects of the game. And it comes down to more of a tactical decision from Tata on what he sees in any of the, pregame footage or studying that he has going on. It's really tough to try and pick who's going to be that starter because there's, pluses and minuses to both styles of play.
Is it just me that feels like they don't play the same position? Because I feel like Diego Gomez should be taking Arroyo's spot rather than Benja's spot.
I think he does play a little bit more defensively than what we would expect. But to be fair, Diego Gomez is more of a true midfielder. Facundo Farias is more of that attacking midfielder. He can even play striker or play on the wings. So he's much more attacking minded. We'll see that develop, but the point we were discussing earlier, does it make sense to keep Gregory if Diego Gomez could slot into that position? And something that I asked Tata Martino after the Nashville game was, do you feel that you will have enough time before the end of the season to fully implement your style, your philosophy, and your structure of football amongst the team? Because the frequency of games is a game every 4 days, and you have your rest days, and you have your game planning days. And what he said, and I'm going to quote this, right? Like I literally wrote this down for this, is that in all this time exactly, we've been with the team for 2 months since our arrival, but really it's been 52 days actually working with the team. So we really haven't had a full week working with this team. Even with that, the evolution of this team through Leagues Cup and Open Cup, and the fact that we play every 4 days hasn't allowed us enough time to be able to train and continue to build this group. But what we have been able to do is correcting through videos and seeing improvements through the games. So we're not even seeing 100% top football right now. We're probably honestly seeing 60, maybe 75% of what this team should be doing, because there just isn't enough time to get everyone into this system when you don't have time to do that in between, when you have to rest players and you have to focus on your next opponent. And so I think the biggest jump we will see with this current roster is in the offseason. And sure, we'll lose probably 10, 15, maybe 20% of the roster. But I think we're going to see a night and day difference. This is what a lot of us talked about. And man, were we wrong saying that, Messi coming in wasn't going to change the game, that it would take weeks, if not months, for him to integrate into this team. And he integrated day one, and we've been phenomenal since. But there is still a lot of time that is needed for this team to reach its full potential. We're not operating at our full potential, but we're still seeing amazing results, and the future is only bright from here.
Well, and I agree with that. And, the future is especially bright for Miami with players that Miami continues to develop. If you look at Inter Miami CF2, who's having a just horrible season under first-year head coach Federico Higuain, who probably should be fired. They're still developing some really good players. Defender Tyler Hall was just called up to the US U17 national team. Izzy Boatwright saw his first ever minutes for the first team this year. Lawson Sunderland saw minutes for the first team this year. Miami has other interesting players out on loan as too. Jake LaCava, Shandir Borgelin, Harvey Neville. So, Miami does continue to have a youth base that they can tap into and just continue to grow as support pieces to the three DPs over the next couple of years, as Miami is able to continue to grow as a team and as a club and as a franchise over these next couple of years.
You hit the nail on the head. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, we already look at the individuals that have come up out of the academy, like the Binha Kermashis, the Noah Allens, the David Ruizes, Ian Frey, Schneider Borgelin. Like, I cannot stress enough how great this academy is. And albeit it's weird to say this year because Inter Miami 2 has not been having a great season. But you look below that, right? You look at like the U12s or U15, stuff of that nature, and you see them go to these national tournaments and play quite well. And that we've been talking about this for years, honestly, that we won't even really start to see the full effects of this club until several years down the road once this academy talent starts bleeding in to the first team. And we're starting to catch our first whiff of that. It is going to be continuous. It is going to be nonstop, right? This isn't Columbus, Ohio. This isn't Kansas City, Missouri. This is South Florida. The vast majority of people down here are from international backgrounds, whether it be Central America, South America, or Europe. There is a love for this game that is inherently instilled into this region because of the people that live here. And I just think the better the team is, the better the academy is, the more these kids who grew up in families where soccer is life, where football is life, are going to come into the academy. And thank God we're starting to see it, right? Because the first 2 seasons, it was barely existent, if that. I mean, I think we called up was that the second or third season? We called up Eddie Escona and Felipe Valencia, and we never played them, right? I don't know. I might have lost you. You cut out there.
That was
But the second or third season. That was the third season.
no second.
Okay, but now we're starting to see it, and it's going to be this continuous churning event where, as long as we can have a competent roster that we can supplement in our youth with, that are not only capable of very good players, but more importantly at a dirt cheap salary, then man, like literally the future is so bright for this team. Everything has aligned. This team took a gamble on so many aspects, especially this season. We forfeited the entire season, and now we're going to try and claw our way back into it. But honestly, who cares? If we can get 2 trophies out of it, that's a success. But like, we're about to see the full force, perennial force of Inter Miami, because in 2 more years, right? We're almost through the first half of the 2.5-year contract for Messi. In 2 more years, if he's gone, then that gives a hell of a lot of people the chance to cut into this first team. And if he so opts to take that 3rd-year contract option and makes it 3.5 years here, that just buys us more time. And that's outside of the money we'll have to bring in international players, to bring in designated players. We'll be able to play our own young guns from our academy, from South Florida, born and raised here, for the incredibly cheap salaries, depending on their age and skill level, of $60,000 to probably $150,000. And if you're 17 making $100,000, you're one happy 17-year-old. I'll tell you what.
Well, and that begs the question of, as Miami continues to grow, and as Miami continues to grow more of this local talent, what do you think? It looks like as a player in South Florida. You have to remember that Inter Miami CF Academy is by invite only. You do not try out for the academy. You do not walk on, pay a fee, and say, "All right, I'm a member of the Inter Miami Academy." You have to be invited and recruited. And trust me, as a referee who does a lot of youth games here in South Florida, Inter Miami Academy scouts are everywhere. They are visiting every single club, scouting players, trying to find the next group of players to be Inter Miami CF players. So now we look at the academy roster for this upcoming U season. The U12s has one very interesting name on it that I feel like could make a lot of these younger players throughout South Florida, whenever they know they're being scouted, step up to another level, and that is son of Lionel Messi, Thiago Messi. He is 10 years old, playing on the U12 academy team this year. So what do you think that adding a player like that does to the academy and to youth soccer throughout South Florida?
It revolutionizes it. I mean, you don't want to play with Messi's son, right? You could literally have the opportunity to play a game and look over and see Leo Messi just in the crowd with Antonella watching the game. And to anybody that has children, I would encourage you to do the same thing that I did with my son. Go online, go to the Inter Miami website, find their magnet programs, what clubs they're looking at, what clubs are kind of part of their larger umbrella, and make sure that you're putting your kids in those clubs. And if they succeed, hopefully all is well, they can have a path to the Inter Miami Academy. Please do that. I would highly encourage that. We're all about trying to get more talent, the next American stud, out to an MLS team or the men's national team. But if I was a kid and I was looking to be captured by a sport, and if I knew anything about it, and Leo Messi's son was there, I'd want to go out there and I'd want to go see if I could play, maybe become friends with them. I think it'd be the same thing as if Michael Jordan's son was on the team, and you could have a chance to go out there and play with him, and then maybe that leads somewhere. I don't know. I've not watched enough of Thiago Messi to tell you if he is a very talented football player, if he's just the son of the GOAT. I've seen him deck his little brothers left and right out there, post game, having fun shooting on goals. I think he's got some potential. From what I understand, Trav, and correct me if I'm wrong, he's going to be playing up a grade or two. But I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. But
So, guys, I got a question. Would that be considered nepotism? Are we going to be hearing those arguments again?
ooh,
It's Leo
no.
Messi. There's not a single chance that we hear nepotism.
So always the exception, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's ever an exception, it's going to be with the greatest of all time.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that.
Well, Don, you tell me, if would you rather your son play with Thiago Messi or Pepita Higuain?
Of course, Messi's son. Come on.
Exactly. I don't even know if
come on.
Pepita is the right way to say little.
Little
I would take a little Higuain just because I know they have a chance to maybe be better.
Just I know he's smoking at 8 years old.
Yeah.
Fighting in dive bars.
Already on, his fourth pack of cigarettes by kickoff.
Yeah, but here's the curious thing: is Thiago Messi any good, and we just don't know, or is he just Leo Messi's son?
Nepotism.
I know Michael Jordan has a son, but no one knows his son because he wasn't really great at the sport of basketball, which his father was. So it'll be interesting to see if Messi can teach enough. Is it just innately a gift from God, or can he pass this on to his son to make him Messinho?
Yeah, for me, just to really quickly go back to your point of, if you're a parent in South Florida, please join one of Inter Miami's partner clubs. I can't tell you where to bring your child, but as a former Weston FC and Plantation FC player, I highly recommend both of them. Plantation FC especially, a lot of great coaches, a lot of great kids, and I think a couple of Plantation FC players made the 2023-24 Inter Miami CF Academy roster this year. And then Weston FC is just a powerhouse in terms of South Florida soccer players. I mean, they've been around for the longest. They produced players like Ben Hakramovsky, like Noah Allen.
Didn't they produce Josie Altidore as well?
Josie Altidore was from Boca. He was a Boca Raton player.
But here, let me play all this real quick. So they have a bunch of partners, which I am more than happy to run through. But they have 3 key partners, which is Weston FC, South Florida Football Academy, and Miami Rush Kindle SC. Outside of that, they have about probably 30 of them that are in here. I will share this on social media so that if anyone's out there and is looking for a place for your little boy or little girl to play, you can select one of these clubs, because I hope by the time they get older, there's not only Inter Miami men's team, but hopefully by that time we also have a women's team down here.
And I'd just like to point out, a great mix. There's 3 main partner clubs, Weston FC, Broward County, out in Weston, South Florida Football Academy. They play, up by me in Boca, and who's the other one?
Miami Rush Kendall, South Florida Football Academy, and Weston FC.
And Miami Rush down in Miami-Dade County. And they're all great programs. I can speak highly of Weston FC and South Florida Football Academy because as a referee, both of them have treated me fantastic. And if they treat the referees right, they will treat your children right.
There we go. But listen here. There's so many partner clubs, right? Those are the 3 key partners clubs. And there's so many clubs on here that you can find one near you. You can feed them up into the key partner clubs. And that's kind of the goal of all this. And you even see some European names here like Juventus Academy, PSG Academy, Atletico Madrid Academy, Barcelona Academy, stuff of that nature. But then even to like Davie United Soccer Club, Doral Soccer Club, Fort Lauderdale FC, which my son plays in, Miami Strike Force, Miami Sun, Palm Beach Gardens Predators. There are so many. Pinecrest SC, if you want to take the state tax or credit or whatever on private schools, send your kid to Pinecrest. They've got a program as well. They're all over the place. Just get them in there. And if they're truly good, you can funnel them into the key partners. But it's great to know that Inter Miami has eyes on all of these clubs.
Yeah, and it just shows, Miami's outreach within the South Florida youth scene and, youth soccer community. Oh, but on that note, we're at a little bit over an hour now, Jay, and, we both have busy weekends ahead. It's a holiday weekend. Inter Miami plays on Sunday against LAFC. What do you think we will see out of Miami against a strong LAFC side and, their 3rd game in 8 days?
I think this is going to be the match of the weekend. We all know what Denis Bouanga can do. What Carlos Vela has subsided a little bit in his skills, but LAFC is a monster, and in terms of attacking, Inter Miami is a monster. So I think we're going to see a high-scoring game here. I'm really looking forward to this. Shout out to LAFC; they just were able to loan out Mamadou Fall to Barcelona. They are a very stacked team. They won the MLS Cup last year, and they are looking forward to this match probably more than we are, honestly. They are got to be extremely excited to take on the hottest team in the league. LAFC is always an absolute threat. Strong from front to back. We get our boy, Big John McCarthy, in net, which, if you just started following this team, probably not aware, but he was our goalkeeper for a quick minute there after Luis Robles went down. I truly think this is going to be a pretty open game. I think it's going to come down to what defense can figure it out quicker than the other or faster than the other, rather, because there are threats from all over the field. And there's going to be no other eyes on any MLS games. This is a Sunday game at 10 o'clock, last game of the week. And this is a true test, a road test against one of the best teams over the previous 3-4 seasons in the entire league. And they are scary, but so are we. So I really think it's going to come down to what defense can hold it together best, but I think it's going to be tough regardless because the attack of both of these teams are so damn strong.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think it is. It's the match of. It's fuck me. It's the match of the weekend, and I think LAFC isn't a side that's going to sit back and say, all right, we're going to play just defensive, park the bus. I think they're a side that is going to say, we want to attack too. We want to score. And, in this match, which is the most expensive match in Major League Soccer history, based on ticket sales and resale prices, it's going to be very interesting to see, just how high scoring of a game this is, and just the exact tactics that LAFC, a team that doesn't, they don't like to sit back and defend. They like to attack. What they take and what they try and do, especially after watching what Nashville was able to hold Miami to by playing defensive and by playing defense first and forcing Miami to push all night long.
Yeah, I mean this is Friday Night Lights. This is Sunday Night Football right here. I mean, this is the premier game, and they, LAFC. They don't have a Messi. They do have a Denis Bouanga, and this man has been scoring in almost half the games he's played in. And many of those games he's scoring multiple times. I mean, this is I can't express enough. I would honestly say this is probably the biggest game of the season in terms of competition, right? That we have left on the schedule. Like we played Cincinnati. This is the rare Western matchup that we seem to always get every year against LAFC. The league loves to do that, but they also have like Kellen Acosta. It's gonna be a hell of a game. I'm not even sure if Mamadou Fall is going to be in or out, but he's arguably one of the best center backs in the league. They have other threats, even coming from defense with Ryan Hollingshead. I mean, this is going to be an absolute battle, and I expect this to be realistically probably like a 3-4 type of game. And who knows what could come of it, because this is a team that has been playing together for quite some time. The core players are there. They've made some additions. This isn't a complete overhaul like we've seen with Inter Miami last season, or even to a decent extent this season. And this will be a real test. We're away. We're in hostile territory. They have what I consider to be the best supporters in the entire nation in the 32-52, I think is what it's called, or I think it's 32-52. They are insanely rowdy. They have not only chants that the entire stadium sings, they all link arms, shift left to right. It is a very intimidating place. And if you're going to test your mettle, there are few teams that would be better than LAFC on the road.
Yeah, I fully agree. Major credit to LAFC and the LAFC supporters. One of the best atmospheres there is in Major League Soccer. But saying that, Jay, give me a score prediction. What do you think is going to happen in this match? What do you think we will be looking at as a final score?
I think this one's going to get up into it. Buddy boy. I'm going to go 3-2 Inter Miami. But it could go even higher than that, honestly.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit less. I'm going to say 2-1 Inter Miami. I think that LAFC puts the pressure on Miami and forces them to defend. And, that works for a bit, but that at the same time, I don't think Lionel Messi starts this match. I think that he started on Wednesday because it was at home and arguably a bigger match with how Miami was lifting the League's Cup trophy at home. I don't think he starts, so I think that it takes Miami some time to get going, and that LAFC takes advantage of that in the first half and, gives it their all and attacks with their all early on in the match, and that's where they get their goal from. But then, Lionel Messi and just the depth and power that this Miami squad has overwhelms them in the second half.
I just feel that if there's a team to expose our back line for what it truly is, this would be the team. I feel like the high possession play is a good way of masking any defensive sorrows. And I just think that LAFC is attacking minded from top to bottom. You can go to their back line, they've got attacking backs. And this is going to be. I had been looking at this game on this little Inter Miami magnet schedule I got from the stadium for a while. This is always going to be a fun game, and just enjoy this. Not the whole world, but the whole soccer or football world that cares about the MLS will be watching. There's no other games. It's not like you got to watch a wrap around where you're so invested in your one team that you don't get to see the others. This is all eyes on prime time. This is all eyes on Leo Messi, and we're going against probably, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, probably the best team in the league over the past 4 years.
No, I agree with that. So I think it's going to be, one great match, definitely the match of the weekend. And, sets Miami up for, a very realistic look at where they are heading into the international break. But
this is I feel like this is a must win. Like we did not get the win against Nashville. We're getting in, these 3 points are going to become very crucial. I think we could probably mathematically lose 2 more, but these points are becoming dire. And if we want to have a chance at the treble, we need to get points out of here. It's a tough environment to get points.
Yeah, and I think that will play into it. But I think at the same time, Miami's going to be looking for, just it is a Western Conference match. It's not a 6-point match like, other matches and other losses would be. So, while I think it's, a big, important match, I think that if there's a match Miami's going to prioritize a little bit less, it's going to be this one, especially as, Miami loses a record 9 of their players to international duty for the upcoming Sporting Kansas City match.
That's going to be a sketchy match. We'll get to that in a whole nother episode.
We'll get to that next week on Traveller Chats. But on that note, I think that is it for this week's episode of Trav Chats. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for Don Cafecito and Daniel from the Battered Herons for also joining us and sharing their thoughts. Jay, any last thoughts before we call it a night on this episode of Trav Chats?
Spamo Miami.
Good old Vamos Miami. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we will see you next week on Trav Chats as they return next Thursday. Thank you again.
3, 2,